Hello everybody, thank you for joining our Shoosmiths live video today. We are filming today from the wonderful city of Edinburgh, and I'm joined by Stuart Clubb, who is a partner in our litigation services team here in Edinburgh. So we're going to talk all about what it's like to live and work in the city of Edinburgh, and also how that could, what that could offer you for the start of your legal career. So to get us started, I would like to know where you're watching us from today. So just type into the comments where you are. And like I said, we're in Edinburgh. I will be doing a snapshot tour of our office later on today. So do keep an eye out on our Instagram story and Twitter page, where we'll be sharing some of those images and videos if you want to see a little bit more of the office. You won't be able to see from where we're filming in this room today, but we actually do have a fantastic view of the castle from our office, and that will obviously be on the video later as well. So you can ask questions at any time. All you need to do is just type them into the comments, and we'll get to those towards the middle and end of the video, and Stuart and I will answer anything. So you can ask us any question that you've got. So let's get started then. Stuart, if you'd like to tell me a little bit about you and how you came to be at Shoosmiths.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's got to go right back to when I was at secondary school, and it was that point at school when you need to choose your subjects and start to specialise. And I always remember this conversation that my mum had with me, which is you need to think about a job that you're going to enjoy, but it's also going to be well paid as well, and sort of stretch you. I was quite academic as a child,
Yeah.
and she said, so that leaves sort of doctor and lawyer. Now you can't be a doctor because you're squeamish and faint at the sight of blood, so you should think about becoming a lawyer then. And it was really something as small as that started. I thought, oh yeah, okay. And I looked into it, spoke to a careers advisor, and thought, yeah, this is the career for me. And since from that point onwards, it really was just about focusing, getting into university. I always remember at school, I sat at my desk and studied for exams with the entrance grades above the desk, so that was my focus. Got into university, and I've never really looked back.
Okay, fantastic. And so from your studies, how did you find a training contract? What brought you to Shoosmiths today?
Yeah, well, I studied in Aberdeen, University of Aberdeen, and it was back in, that would have probably been about sort of late 90s. So graduate assessment schemes, vacation schemes were not as normal as they are now. They're quite rare, and I always remember writing to all the law firms in Aberdeen saying, law student keen to learn, do you have any summer placements, can I get any summer work? And one firm wrote back and said, fortunately we don't offer a sort of summer placement scheme, but our receptionist is going off on maternity leave, and we need someone to cover the reception. Okay. And I grabbed that opportunity, and I've got to say I probably learned more about how a law firm works in that summer working on the reception than I would otherwise have done.
Yeah.
And from there, that led me to get my training contract with that firm, and then in 2004 I moved down to Edinburgh, worked at a couple of firms here in Edinburgh before joining Shoosmiths in 2016.
Okay, I love that story about the working on reception, because there are so many different roles within a law firm. It's very easy to become blindsided by just looking for paralegal roles to gain experience, but of course any exposure in a law firm will develop your experience.
Absolutely, and for anyone that's watching that hasn't been able to get a graduate placement or assessment placement over the summer or anything, don't give up. Right, offer to work in reception, take any role, because it's that exposure to the environment that I think will stand you in good stead going forward.
Yeah. Okay. So you work in the litigation services team. So tell me a little bit more about why that's the area of law for you.
Well, again, it goes back to my parents would probably say it was because I was very argumentative as a child, and litigation was the natural type of law to get into. But I say it was 1995, and you remember the O.J. Simpson trial, and it was beamed live from America on Sky every night. And I became obsessed with this.
Yeah. I
would start watching it because of the time difference, about 10 o'clock at night, stay up until the early hours in the morning watching the live feed of the courtroom. And so from that point I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to do some form of court work. Didn't really know the specialism at that point, but I knew that was the area I wanted to get into. And then as a result of my traineeship, being exposed to commercial litigation and contentious insolvency work, which I specialise in, that sort of solidified that's the type of litigation I want to get into. So it really started from the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yeah. So aside from perhaps being a bit argumentative, what other skills do you think are necessary for your area of law?
I think attention to detail, absolutely. A lot of arguments in court, it's not about, sort of, in a sense, skillful cross-examination, but a lot of the legal argument that we get involved in, it comes down to knowing the law and knowing that detail. So absolutely attention to detail for a litigator is must, and it is about enjoying a good argument, wanting to win, striving for success for the client.
So in terms of the litigation team within Shoosmiths, what kind of could you give us an example of the kind of clients that you would be working for, and what would they be arguing about?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because often when you're at sort of parties and speaking to non-lawyers and say, what do you do? And the way I try and explain it, Sam, is to say, if two businesses fall out and sue one another, I'll act for one of them. So a lot of my work is involved in sort of contract disputes, acting for businesses, trying to recover money. But a large part of what I do is also acting for insolvency practitioners, where they're trying to recover assets on behalf of creditors, trying to pursue directors and that sort of thing as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. That's really useful to understand a little bit more about litigation for our viewers that might not be sure about the area of law. So I've mentioned we're filming in our Edinburgh office today, which is our only office in Scotland. And Shoosmiths was an English-only firm until 2012, when we merged with a Scottish firm called ACH, and we acquired the office in Edinburgh. And that was in response to a number of our clients wanting representation in the Scottish legal market, and having, for those that don't know, it's a different legal jurisdiction between Scotland and England, so that's why the different representation was needed. And then you joined Shoosmiths in 2016, so can you tell me a little bit about Shoosmiths in Edinburgh over that time?
Yeah, I think probably go back to the point of the merger in 2012 when Shoosmiths entered the Scottish market. At that point, the number of people in the Edinburgh office was around about 50.
Yeah.
And as we're sitting here today, we've now got nearly double the number of people in the Edinburgh office. So we've seen that growth over that period of time. And that's really as part of the strategy of the office, to focus on the growth and expansion of our commercial offering. So we've seen huge investment in our real estate teams, in our banking team, in our litigation team over that period as well, and that's attracted some really fantastic lawyers from some of the best firms in Scotland. I think that's testament to the quality of the work that we're doing here in Edinburgh, the quality of the client base. But what's probably even more pleasing is to see that recognised. When I joined in 2016, I attended the Law Awards of Scotland, and we won that year Debt Recovery Firm of the Year, Real Estate Team of the Year, and one of our associates won Up and Coming Lawyer of the Year as well. And since then we've seen those accolades and success grow. Been further awards both locally and at a national level. Last November we won Debt Recovery Team of the Year for the third year running at the Law Awards, and then next month we're up for Litigation Team of the Year and Real Estate Team of the Year. So it's great to see that success recognised. It's all very well us shouting about it, but in the sector and in the market. Yeah,
the mantelpiece at the front was definitely weaning under the awards when I came in. So what about the future plans then for Shoosmiths in Edinburgh?
Yeah, it's really building on that success, building on that expansion. It's one of the strategic priorities for the firm. Our CEO Simon Boss, very much a big advocate of Scotland, so we're looking to grow and expand in Scotland, and particular focus in terms of our corporate team. Our corporate team have been exceptionally busy recently, and so we're actively recruiting, particularly in that team. So it's building on the success.
Yeah, fantastic. So if a trainee is watching, or a future trainee is watching the video today, and they're thinking about coming to train in Edinburgh rather than somewhere else, what would be the benefits of training in this city?
In the city, well, I'll start with the office. And I think the key thing is responsibility. A trainee coming to train here will not be stuck behind a photocopier. They will be meeting clients, they will be up at court, they will be at deal meetings, they will be drafting documents and transactions. They'll be heavily involved, a lot of responsibility there. And we've seen that. I mentioned earlier how our corporate team were exceptionally busy. I think they completed 8 corporate transactions in 6 weeks at the end of the year, and our trainee in our corporate team was heavily involved, played a really important role in that, drafting up the documents, attending the meetings, meeting with the clients and so on, and that support was absolutely invaluable, and that goes for trainees in every team here in Edinburgh. whether it's in litigation or in real estate. And in fact, last year there was a big real estate deal, and the support provided by our trainee was so invaluable that at the end of that, it's quite common to release a press release saying what we've done in our role. And we wanted to specifically credit the trainee by naming her in the press release because that support was just so important.
Yeah.
So very hands-on. And in terms of networking and business development, great opportunities for that. Each year we host a annual big event in the office called our Spring Drinks, where we bring all our clients along, and the trainees are involved in that. They're meeting and greeting, but there's also other opportunities for them to attend industry sector events, and also at one of the Law Award dinners last year, we brought our trainee along because, again, just recognising their contribution to the team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's lovely. So they're a valued member of
Yeah,
your team, absolutely, here. Yeah.
And in terms of living and working in the city itself, well, Edinburgh, I'm quite biased, but consistently ranked one of the top cities to live and work in as well. There's just so much going on.
Yeah. So there might be some students watching that are doing a dual qualified degree. So that's where you can do a degree in Scotland, but then at the end of that degree, you choose whether you take which route you take, the English or the Scottish route to qualification. So what advice would you give those students if they're not sure about what might be next for them?
Yeah, I would say think very carefully about where you want to live and work. It is an important decision. It is a crossroads point. Are you going to qualify in Scotland by going into the diploma legal practice, or are you going to want to qualify in England by going down what's currently the LPC route?
Yeah.
And that is really important. So think ahead. Where do you see yourself?
Yeah.
But what I would also say is that life happens, things change, and simply because you choose to qualify in Scotland or in England doesn't mean that's where you've got to stay for the rest of your career. A senior associate in the litigation team, trained in Reading, qualified in English law, and then for family reasons wanted to move up to Scotland, requalified as a Scottish lawyer, is now a senior associate in our litigation team. And it works the other way as well. We had a trainee here in Scotland that wanted to live in England, and is now a lawyer with us in our Manchester office as well. So it's an important decision. Think about it, but it's not necessarily where you'll spend the rest of your career.
Yeah, so I think we have a number of lawyers that are dual qualified in both Scotland and England, and perhaps working the other way around. But it's not that common, is it? It's not just you can't just skip across the border and then continue to work. No. There's additional exams or tests that you need to go through. That's
right. Yeah. That's right, and that's why I say it is a very important crossroads and a thing to think about. But if life changes and things happen, there are routes there to, if people did want to swap. But you've got to sit exams and so on.
Yeah. Okay. So that's so useful. Thank you. That's really insightful. I was wondering if you've got any questions that you would like to ask me.
I do. Now, one of your colleagues, I don't know if you know this, said that you yourself had a connection with Edinburgh, which I don't know, and which I was going to ask you about.
Yeah, so I've got family from Edinburgh, so my grandparents were from Scotland, Glasgow and Edinburgh, so that's a kind of personal connection. And then I came on a weekend break with my boyfriend now, but at the time we were just, it was early days, and this is where we became Facebook official, I guess is the term these days. So when we've been back to Edinburgh every single year for a holiday since, and the last 2 years with our little boy. So it's a nice, familiar place, and I absolutely love coming to see everybody in the office and just spend some time in the city. It just feels like a bit of a second home, actually, coming up here. So that's kind of my personal connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
I wanted to ask you as well about obviously people know Edinburgh very well for the castle, but are there any other secret gems in Edinburgh that people might not know about that you would tell them about if they were visiting the city, perhaps for a holiday?
Yeah, oh gosh, now, how long have we got?
Yeah.
There is, Edinburgh, you mentioned the castle, it is a fantastically beautiful city.
Yeah.
We've got this sort of Georgian old new town, we've got the historic old town, so much history, character about the city. For me, not quite a hidden gem, but it's the fact that Edinburgh hosts, I think it's no less than 12 festivals a year. And for me, that seeing the city come alive during the festival period is just fantastic. There's so much to see and do. And in reference to the office, we're particularly spoiled because we've got a theatre in the same building underneath. We've got 2 theatres next door. So during August, when the festival's at full bloom, there's quite often you'll be walking past getting a sandwich for your lunch, and you'll see a celebrity or two, and there's just a great buzz about the city in that. So not so much a hidden gem because everyone knows the festival, and likewise we throw what is arguably the best New Year's party with our Hogmanay celebrations every 31st of December. So and
oh yeah, I was going to say definitely comedy. That's certainly the other thing people know the city for.
Yeah, and I think people think that comedy, it's only during the month of August, but actually Edinburgh we're quite spoiled when it comes to live comedy. You can go and see a live comedy show any night of the week you want, for the entire year. So that's definitely one of my favourite things to do. And
finally, what about eating out? So you are absolutely spoilt here again with loads of really great independent restaurants and bars and all the standard chain restaurants that you'd expect as well, but do you have anywhere specific that you would recommend for eating?
Oh yeah, again, eating out is one of my absolute favourite things to do, and probably spend far too much money eating out. Tip, if you're coming to Edinburgh, book early, but there's a restaurant not very far from the office called Timber Yard. Scottish produce, Scottish food, absolutely fantastic. That's my number one pick.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So that's the Timber Yard.
Timber Yard.
Okay, we'll search for a link for that and share it on the video in case anybody wants to visit. So I'm going to have a look and see if anybody that's watching is asking any questions for us to answer. And if you've got a question, you can type it into the comments and we will answer that for you now. So let's have a look. So we've got Natasha, who's watching from Essex, hello. We've got Emily, who's watching from Stirling, and she's joining us at the Insight evening tonight. Thank you for watching, Emily, and we really look forward to seeing you later. And Daniel, who's watching from Dundee and also is attending the Insight evening later on tonight. So if you don't know about our Insight evenings, every year we run events across all of our offices, and myself and Amy, the graduate recruitment team, do a bit of a Shoosmiths world tour and run these events where you can come into our office, meet us, learn more about Shoosmiths, learn more about the application process and the training available, and obviously it's a really great opportunity for you to develop your commercial awareness as well. So we are running our Edinburgh event tonight, which is why we're here and seeing Stuart, and also why a few people will be joining us. So do look out for those events if you've not been able to attend one already. But we haven't had any other questions through, so anything else to add? Any gems of advice that you'd like to share to our watchers?
I think I was going to say, in terms of standing out, I think it's important to make an impression at these events, whether it's coming along for an Insight evening or at an assessment centre. And what I would say is stand out, make that impression. I think that's really important. Quite often I think some people think that standing out, making an impression means being the loudest, asking the most questions, making the most points and so on. But for me it's about making us see them in the role that they're looking to apply for, making us see them as trainees, as lawyers of the future, and coming across like that, presenting yourself, and honesty. If people don't know, if they're asked a question, the answer, say that. I'd rather have that than someone fumble and try and make something up when it's obvious they don't know. Just be honest, because at the end of the day it's about being yourself, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Because you might be able to fake it on an Insight evening, but an assessment day, placement, and then when you get the job you can't. So you need to be yourself and work out if we're the right fit for you. Exactly. So thank you so much, massive thank you for taking part in our video today. If you like what we've been talking about, then just hit the like button for us and let us know, and if you've got any suggestions for future video topics, then you can just type those into the comments as well. If you are watching this after the live broadcast, you can still ask questions, just type them in and we will get back to you straight away. And I want to remind you that we are live again next month, where we'll be talking about vacation placements and how you can make the most of those to show off your best skills and stand out from the crowd. Our application for summer placements and training contracts is open now on our website, so please do head over there and start your application if you haven't done already. Otherwise, I'll speak to you soon, but thank you very much for watching. Thanks.